Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing today? I have to say, David, that I completely forgot about that technology conference until you brought it up, and it was like a blast from the past hit me in the face. I was like, I forgot that we did that together. Oh, it's fascinating, the lives that we lead sometimes. How's everybody doing today? Good. I am glad to hear it. Well, first of all, before I get started, I'd like to thank the Planning Committee for inviting me to be here today, and specifically David, Tom, Eric Munson, Ms. Stevens, who had to leave, my good friend Billy Altum, who's here, for this invitation. When I learned about what you all were going to be talking about today, and how you're focusing on collaboration, and how you're trying to do more with each other, both more with each other within the disability community, but also with individuals outside of the community, I couldn't say no, and I had to be here. And the reason that I had to come was because that is exactly what we're trying to do and accomplish in Washington, D.C. And so if there's a way that we can trade ideas and learn from each other as we're trying to move disability policy to the next level, the only way to do that is to come out and to talk to people, and to talk to groups, and to learn, and share, and trade ideas. So, but before I get into some of that, I want to ask you all a question, an honest question. And I know you heard a little bit today, but before today, I'd like to know, and there's a couple people here who cannot raise their hands because I know that they're familiar with this, but before today, how many of you had ever heard of the Administration for Community Living? And how about the Administration on Disabilities? Actually, a few more. That's not surprising. Typically, when we go to conferences like this and we talk about who we are and what we do, it's typically less than half of the crowd that raises their hand. And that's understandable. And I give you a little bit of background about who we are. ACL was established in 2012. We're the newest operating division within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Now, when I say operating division, there's a few other operating divisions within the department that you may have heard of. There are small entities like the National Institutes of Health, the Centers for Disease Control, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, otherwise known as CMS, just a few small agencies that may be important and may have an impact on your life. The difference between us and them, and there are many, is that they're much larger than we are. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has 80,000 employees across the United States and internationally. 80,000. We have 200 of them. And again, to put that in perspective, and looking at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the Medicaid side of the house and their policy team has about 200 staff. So we are extremely, extremely small. But we were brought together because of the similarities that we have in populations. We started off with being separate entities. You had the Administration on Aging, which was its own unique entity. You had the Administration on Developmental Disabilities, is what it was called at the time, led by the former commissioner, my friend Sharon Lewis. And then you had the Office of Disability, which was in the Office of the Secretary. Those three entities were brought together to focus on community services. There is a need and an understanding that our system is in crisis. There's a need and an understanding that we have an aging population that is going to be needing some type of long-term services and support. The duration and the intensity may be different, but we have 10,000 baby boomers, I believe it is a day, who are turning age 65 and acquiring disabilities on a daily basis. 10,000. At some point in time, this large group of individuals is going to need some type of services and support. Then we have our population of people with disabilities, who, again, the intensity, the duration, the type of support may be slightly different, but for the most part, we're talking about personal care attendants. Service and supports that will keep people healthy and safe in the community. And so there was a need and an understanding that we all needed to get together and figure out, how are we going to do this? With the limited resources that we have, with states that have waiting lists, how are we going to come together and figure out what those next steps are? And so we figured we're better off doing this together as opposed to being in our separate silos. So our vision, and I'm going to read this, at ACL, is that all people, regardless of age and disability, live with dignity, make their own choices, and participate fully in society. And even the title of the organization, the Administration for Community Living, it's aspirational. It's inspirational. It's saying, this is what our goal is. We're not there. It may take a long time to get there, but that's where we foresee going. And how many federal agencies have a title like that that is aspirational?